Greetings. Welcome to our show. You are watching This Is My Health. In this show, we go out of our way to collect information on various health issues with the sole objective of empowering our viewers such that when they are confronted with issues having got to deal with health, they can make informed decisions. In this season, we are specifically focusing on issues of children's health. And we are working in partnership with Adventist AIDS International Ministry, which means as much as we are focusing on children's health, we will tend to lean more towards HIV and AIDS related issues. But all the same, still more on children's health. In fact, the topic today is one that I believe is very topical for many: vaccinations for babies. Worldwide, there seems to be a standard that from a certain age to a certain age, babies must get vaccines. But we are finding out that there are trends going on around where people have different ideas on what should happen. Right or wrong, the jury is still out on that one. But we will be unpacking what are the realities if one chooses to vaccinate or not to vaccinate, and what are observations. I have someone with me today who works in this area, who is going to be helping us unpack this and helping me understand this better. I hope he helps you too. Please join me as we welcome our guest for today. Doc, welcome. Kindly introduce yourself to our audience.
Thank you so much. Hello, everyone. My name is Jongo Mulungu. I am a public health specialist, and I'm happy to be here.
Thank you very much. Public health specialist. What actually do you do?
Well, public health is a wide field. Quite a number of things are done in that space, but of course our interest is ensuring that the public is safe from illnesses. We are more interested in preventing the diseases before they begin. And so that is why I'm excited about today's topic, because it borders so much about what we can do in order to prevent illnesses from starting. And so we are into prevention, doing a lot of sensitizations, doing a lot of advocacy, and of course issues of immunizations are part of those things that we do in the prevention initiatives that are there with us.
I'm very excited actually. It's not every day we get someone like you to talk to us.
Sure.
Now, we are all aware that around the world, including where we are here now in Zambia and of course the African continent, vaccination or immunization is a big topic. Why does the World Health Organization and the people in charge of public health, why do they insist on getting people immunized for various things in general? Why do we have to vaccinate or immunize people?
Thank you so much for that question, and I think it's a very right springboard we can begin this discussion with, because you do realize that when a child is born, they are prone, or they are at risk of suffering from a lot of conditions, because they have not yet developed what we call protection against any infections or any diseases. They call it immunity. So at this point, we want to see if there's something that we can do to this particular child, so that as they are growing up, you do know, as our bundles of joy are growing, they do a lot of exploring with nature and putting things in their mouth, and sometimes they're exposed to quite a number of things. And so it is at that point, which is very critical, that we want to be able to give these vaccines so that they are able to develop this protection against these deadly diseases. You do realize that we have diseases that can be passed from one individual to the other. We call them communicable diseases. And so we target those kind of diseases And we want to protect these children from these conditions that we know are sometimes endemic. They are always present
there around
in our communities. When we
yeah,
talk about
yeah.
Tuberculosis, for example,
Yes.
it is almost always there in our communities.
Yes,
But we
yes.
have to beat that. And the
Before
only
the
way
child gets exposed to it.
exactly.
Yeah.
And the only way we get to do that is by ensuring that we vaccinate a child at a time before they catch the disease, because it could be deadly.
So the essence of vaccination is that the body is prepared
Exactly.
so that when it meets that challenge, it can rise up to the challenge.
You have just spoken the English that probably another person would appreciate. But that's the point. We want to prepare this body to be able to fight the enemy as the person meets it.
Okay.
Yes.
Is that why in different places you get immunized for different things? For example, I sometimes travel around and they always ask me for yellow fever. But some places in this world don't have that. So when I come from one place, they say yellow fever. Why would that be, that I'm supposed to have it in one place, I don't have to have it in another place? Why is that?
Okay, so that's a very interesting perspective, because you do realize that, like I had indicated, we have communicable diseases. So if you are coming from a place where a certain disease is endemic, let's say yellow fever is prevalent, or you're going to a place where that disease is common, you may be required to produce evidence of having been protected from this particular disease per se. So, you know, these vaccines that we have, they have a regional connotation to them, because certain diseases are not there in certain places. So you may not receive certain vaccines in one space, and when you go to some other space, you may be required to receive that vaccine. The idea is we don't want you to come with the disease from where you're coming from, where it is endemic, to this place where it is not. Because let's say the yellow fever that you mentioned, which is caused by mosquitoes, you are coming from a place where yellow fever is common, you come here where there is no yellow fever, and then this mosquito bites you, who doesn't have this protection or who is not immunized. It will get that yellow fever, which you may be a carrier for, and an outbreak starts in the new country.
To other people who
Exactly.
didn't have that. Okay, so now babies don't travel around, and babies, I may say that my child is protected. I don't get visitors. I don't get to go anywhere. Why should my child be given vaccines even when they're still 0, by the time they're 3 months? They're so little, and you have to puncture those little people. Why?
Interesting. That's an interesting, and I understand when women raise those concerns, because it's the love of a mother.
Yes.
And they don't want to see their child cry. But the truth of the matter is that that child is growing. And sooner or later, they will begin to meet individuals that may have these conditions. And, you know, in the science world, we say microorganisms are ubiquitous. They are found everywhere. Where you think
they are not
there are no visitors, you may actually be a carrier for one condition yourself. Because it has not presented any signs and symptoms, you may think that, hey, we are safe. But in the actual sense, you may be a carrier yourself as a mother, or as a father, or as a family member. And the fact that the parent goes out puts this child at risk.
Okay,
because
so the child may not be going, but the
Exactly.
other person is going, and they are collecting.
They bring it to the child.
Home.
So if it is malaria, for example, of course, we do not have a vaccine for malaria yet, although there are some works
there are
around.
Some that are actually working on that.
Yes.
I've heard about them.
Exactly. So you go out there, a mosquito beats you, you are carrying it, you come back home, a mosquito bites the child.
So
the danger is
you have brought the danger in there.
Exactly.
Okay. So now, what happens when one child is not vaccinated because parents may be opted out of that? What are some of the risks that can happen to this child? I mean, we have talked about, yes, they can get infected and everything, but they're growing just fine and they're going there. What are some of the risks is that a risk to other people? In other words, that's what I'm getting at. Does this child endanger anybody other than themselves?
Okay, I'll answer that twofold. One, they endanger other people, and of course, they endanger themselves. By other people, what we mean is that because they are not protected, they have higher chances of getting the disease. And when they get it, it may be more severe as compared to someone who
So that's
had
the danger to
the
them.
vaccine. That's the danger to them. And the danger to the other people is that because they do not have the protection against this disease, when they are around people that are vaccinated, or maybe even others may not even be vaccinated, they have the chance of transmitting the illness to others. Remember, vaccines do not completely get rid out of the chance that you may get an encounter with the disease.
They don't stop the disease coming to you.
They don't stop the disease.
But they protect you when the disease gets
When
in.
the disease comes, because there is what we call memory that, when you introduce a vaccine into the body, there's what the body does, and it creates memory for that specific disease or the germ that causes that disease. So when that is happening in the body will remember that when this comes again, this is how we were able to fight it, and this is how we were able to overcome this particular disease. So that is one thing that they lack. So when they have it, they are more likely to give it to others. So they are a danger to others.
Okay.
But again, the other point is, there's what we call herd immunity.
Yes, what is that?
Herd immunity is simply a certain percentage of the population must be vaccinated in order to prevent the spread. So the idea is this. If we are 5 in the room and let's say 4 of us are vaccinated, okay, we have protection. The chance of this one person infecting all of us is very low, even when they are not vaccinated. So the idea there is to ensure that the community is safe. We must have a larger percentage of them vaccinated. That lowers the chances of
the virus or the germ
getting
spreading into the community and spreading in the community.
Exactly.
But then, talking of herd immunity, there are people who say, I'm protected by others. So like you said, there's 5 in the room. So 4 are vaccinated and 1 is not. So he doesn't have to be vaccinated. After all, he has the 4 to protect him.
But how sure are we that the 4 that we are assuming are vaccinated are actually vaccinated? So we may not, because when you are vaccinated, it doesn't show that this
there's
individual
nothing written on your face that
exactly,
you are vaccinated.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But again, that thinking is what we want to be able to deal with, because you may be thinking like that, and another person is actually thinking like that.
And then
so we may be the 5
4
of us
in the room who are thinking like that.
the same.
Yeah.
So
Can you imagine how much our time
balance.
has gone? So we are going to go for a short break right now. And when we come back, I want us now to look at some specifics with these vaccine issues. Please don't go away. I am sure you want to hear more about vaccines and children and the things that we should or should not do. Looking forward to seeing you in a little while. Welcome back. If you're only just joining us now, you are watching This Is My Health. And today we are looking at the topic of vaccines, the pros and cons, why we should have them. And we have in the studio today a public health specialist, somebody who spends time looking after the health of the general community, and as such, issues of prevention, including immunization. Before we went off, he had just started telling us about some of the things that are issues around vaccines, the thinking, the myths, and we would like to unpack that and then see what else he has in store for us. Welcome back, Doc.
Pleasure is mine. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Now, as we were saying before we left, let's deal with the issues of the myths of sometimes why people don't want to get vaccinated. Of course, we left when we were talking about the issue of herd immunity and the myth that others can get all vaccinated and they will cover me. And you showed us that there's a danger there. What if we are all others?
Exactly.
That is that point of it.
Exactly,
Yeah.
exactly.
Now, mothers, I've met some mothers who are unhappy with getting their children for vaccination. Some will still go because the health professionals tell them so, but begrudgingly so. And part of their grudge is the side effects, both real and rumored. The real, because somebody will say, no, when I went there last time, my child then started to have fever and then was vomiting and this thing. Rumored in that so and so's child got this and then. The stories are much too big for me to recount. Tell me about it. Do vaccines actually do all those things, seen and unseen, as we are hearing about them?
Okay, thank you so much. That's a good question, and it is indeed a concern that is out there in the community. But very quickly to mention is the fact that this is something new that you're introducing to a child, and there may be reaction that you should be able to see in this child.
So when you give a child a vaccine, you're actually introducing a foreign thing.
You are introducing something that is new, and the body will recognize there's something that is new. And the only way it will communicate is through maybe some kind of reaction. But what we are saying is that vaccines are safe. They also do have some side effects. If it is an injection, at the site of the injection, there may be some pain because you had introduced,
you punctured the
skin, so there will be pain. Sometimes it will even be reddish, but that is something that will go away. Some vaccines, when you take them, there may be a bit of some headache. Some may
before you go to the others, let's talk about the one on the arm.
Yes.
How long does it usually take? I mean, when the baby is given that, is it something that goes for a long time? The swelling, does it swell? Does it just redden?
Okay, so it does swell for some individuals. For some individuals, it just becomes reddish. But it also goes with the individual. Because for some individuals, it might not show the reddish color because maybe of the pigmentation of the skin, or things
yes,
like
that's
that.
True.
Yeah, and also the technique of the one who administered. Sometimes it may bring about swelling.
So there are some who have got cold hands, so to speak, and others
we may put it
hot
that
hands.
Way.
Okay,
we may put it that way.
Yes,
but the truth of the matter is that this isn't something that should go for 2 days. Somebody's just swelling. It should be able to disappear within 24 hours.
Then somebody should go back.
When that happens, we call those as adverse events following immunization. So when you are swelling up for longer a period than expected, we expect you to go back to the clinic or to the facility as soon as possible, because we have to
figure out why
this is the case.
Okay.
So that is important, because we do have certain side effects that have to be managed there and then, because come on, we are different individuals, and the children are also differently made up, in as much as they are all humans, but some may not be able to react like the other person to this particular vaccine.
Yes.
So we do take caution to the mothers as we are administering these vaccines, to tell them to say, when you begin to see things that are unusual, please do come back, so that we should be able to investigate and see what can be done about.
Okay, so it was on the side. Talk about the other. We are going to the next one, so I just wanted us to clean up the site. Yes.
Certainly. So there are other signs that may come. We call them side effects. Sometimes you may feel a bit of some headache, depending on which vaccines that are administered. Sometimes there's headache. Sometimes nausea, where someone feels like they want to vomit. And sometimes it may come with a bit of diarrhea. But these are things that should disappear within 24 hours, 48 hours. They should be able to go. And sometimes it's just nausea, where you feel like vomiting and you don't actually get to vomit.
That's an adult. So let's talk about the small babies. Remember we started talking about small babies.
Yes.
So you are saying that a baby may swell up and may actually end up vomiting.
Yes,
or
diarrhea.
Looking very uncomfortable.
Yes. They will cry a lot.
They'll probably cry a lot for that. But that is something that is short-lived.
Yes.
And they should be going. Is there other things that people can do? Is it okay for you to give the child like some paracetamol to lower the fever or the like in conjunction with vaccination?
Well, that may be done, but what we have always encouraged is because that's a normal reaction which should be able to disappear. And if it is something that is caused by a reaction to this vaccine that we have given, and you give paracetamol and it seems to calm down, and yet there is something that it
That's
could be bigger that
okay.
you could have covered up with the medication that you have given, then you deny that child the chance of getting quick help. So we always advise that in as much as it looks terrible for this child to go through this pain, we want you to be able to know that this is something that will pass within a short time. And if you are sure that this is something that this child goes through every time and there's nothing that happens after, well,
Then
you
it's
may
okay,
give,
yes.
you can think
You
of
can
giving
think
some
of giving some
painkillers.
painkillers or
Yes,
something.
yes.
Okay. Now, there are some babies that are born with some conditions. And as I've also mentioned that we are working with Adventist AIDS International Ministry that focuses on HIV and AIDS. The concern with people that are living with HIV or children born with HIV is usually, can my child get vaccinated with others? Or maybe they shouldn't because this might cause them more problems. What would you say to that?
Okay, so this is an interesting one because you do realize that when an individual, it may not even just be a child is born with the virus or so, or an individual gets it after, their immune system tends to be compromised. And so they are at a higher risk of getting these
The diseases we are
infections, the
talking
diseases
about.
that we are talking about, which the vaccine
Are supposed to
should
help them for that, yeah.
should actually protect. So we should be more conscious.
So
in as much as-
logically you are saying they need the vaccine even more.
Exactly.
We shouldn't be withdrawing them. You know,
Exactly.
over the years we have heard some really good news that some terrible diseases have been eradicated, which means
Exactly.
they have no longer there in the human habitat, at least,
Yes.
thanks to the vaccines. Now, what can happen if we then stop vaccinating now that the diseases are gone? Shouldn't we stop and say, we no longer have polio, therefore we don't give polio vaccine. We no longer have smallpox, we don't give smallpox vaccine. Can't we do that?
It could be something that we can consider doing. But you know, the danger is these microorganisms may not be in the body, but they are there
They're
in
in
the
the
environment.
environment. Okay.
So nobody is presenting signs. And for some, really, you may think that the disease is not there, but it is there with a carrier. So
it's
you
just
may
lying dormant
it's
somewhere.
lying dormant somewhere. So the idea that no, we have get rid of smallpox, for example, in the 1980s when we got we eradicated smallpox. Of course, the vaccine that was being given then was one that was actually protecting
For
from
us,
other
yeah.
things like monkeypox that we have now, because
Now that we have stopped kind of the smallpox, now we've got monkeypox.
monkeypox comes in because that
okay.
vaccine that was being given for monkeypox back then used to also build some kind of immunity, but the vaccine stopped coming
Now
out.
we have new ones.
So now we have the
Yeah,
monkeypox, and we have to deal with it. In Zambia, we have had outbreaks of monkeypox,
Yeah.
and the current city where we are, we have recorded quite a number of cases of monkeypox.
Well, okay.
Yes.
Hey, Doc, can you imagine that the time is actually gone? Now, I would like you just to take a minute to talk from the heart to the audience as a public health practitioner on this issue of vaccines.
Thank you so much for that opportunity. And indeed, I would like to make mention that vaccines are safe. They go through a lot of tests, and they are protecting our future generations. And so if there's a woman out there and men out there,
I like that.
indeed, because men do take
Yes. A back seat
a
somewhere.
back seat and say this is something for the women. So if there's a responsible father out there, what you need to do as a responsible father is to ensure that your child is up to date with the vaccines, because they meet a lot of enemies in the world that you do not see. And these vaccines are that weapon that these children have to fight these diseases or these enemies, and eventually the disease doesn't come through. So we encourage each and everyone to ensure that they visit the health facility. If there are any questions that they may have, the health facility and their professional staff should be able to attend to those concerns. Thank you.
Thank you very, very much for coming, and thank you for taking the moment to talk to the audience about such a strong, emotive subject, I might add.
Thank you so
Thank
much
you very
for
much.
having me, and the pleasure is mine.
Okay. Well, I hope you have heard the plea that our professionals are giving out to us. I hope you also have heard within the discussion how sometimes, even as the whole human race, we think we have dealt with one bug and we stop protecting against it. We find out that there were others. The case of smallpox and monkeypox should be a lesson to us, especially those of us who are having ideas that vaccine should stop. But do you know something? Although we were focusing on the vaccines of children, and indeed that is the objective of the show today, getting vaccines actually does not stop in life, because these organisms are there throughout. We talked about the childhood vaccinations, but there are others like the human papillomavirus, the one that we are using for prevention of cancer, cervical cancer to be specific. We encourage people that where that is available, get your daughters to take it, and it should be done before somebody becomes sexually active, preferably before they are 12 years old, because unfortunately we live in a world where people become sexually active very quickly. The next point that I would also like to point out is every year we get flu. People have tended to forget that influenza is a killer, and there are many who have died from that. So if you have an opportunity to take a flu vaccine, please do that. Lastly, taking the precaution of vaccine is not showing weakness in faith. No matter what your faith status is or your religious persuasion, you are a human being, and your body gets attacked by the bugs, and it will respond the way bodies respond to bugs. So it's not an expression of lack of faith. Remember, this is my health. You choose these things for yourself. Protect yourself, protect your child, and someday join us to say, this is my health and I've been responsible for it. Until next time, stay blessed.